Stunning moment from South Africa tonight, an emotional breakdown in court from Oscar Pistorius, the disabled Olympic athlete, now facing murder charges. ABC's Bazi Kanani is our correspondent in South Africa, and she brings us those images from the courtroom.
The once proud Olympian broke down at his first court appearance, weeping as a judge announced he would be charged with premeditated murder. Local media quote police saying his cover model girlfriend, Reeva Steenkamp, was shot 4 times through a bathroom door with a 9mm pistol recovered from Oscar Pistorius' house on Valentine's Day. Prosecutors dismissed reports he mistook her for an intruder and today said they believe he intended to kill her. In his defense, the Pistorius family issued a statement saying the alleged murder is disputed in the strongest terms.
Oscar Pistorius is really flying here.
Pistorius' fans saw a man driven to win, but others who came to know him say it sometimes went too far.
I worried about Oscar hurting himself in various ways because he can be very reckless in his driving of his car, driving his speedboat. He's an adrenaline freak.
One passion was guns, here tweeting this picture of himself at a shooting range where he was a regular. And in another tweet expressing his persistent fear of burglars coming into his house. Nothing like getting home to hear the washing machine on and thinking it's an intruder to go into full combat recon mode into the pantry. Friends say they believe the shooting was simply a horrific accident.
Let's get to the very big headline. I'm showing it here. You can see it right here. It's called Lance Admits to Vile Betrayal. You'll see a lot of the Live Strong bracelet. Live Strong, Lie Long, perhaps. Some are calling it the greatest deception in sports history. Justice Department officials are now recommending the department join a federal lawsuit against the disgraced cyclist. Armstrong admitted to doping in a no-holds-barred interview with Oprah on Monday. And ABC's Neil Karlinski, who had covered the twists and turns in Armstrong's story for years, is in Seattle with the very latest. Neil, good morning.
Elizabeth, good morning. Could it really be all about the money? Sources tell ABC News the federal government is likely to join a whistleblower lawsuit against Lance Armstrong this week, seeking to recoup millions of dollars paid to sponsor his cycling teams. It would be the costliest case against Lance Armstrong by far and his biggest headache going forward. This morning, sources say the lying is over after a decade of denials.
I have never doped.
Even lawsuits and vicious attacks against his detractors.
I've never taken performance-enhancing drugs.
Sources tell ABC News that Lance Armstrong now admits he really was on more than just his bike. Not only did Armstrong admit doping his way to 7 Tour de France victories in his emotional Oprah confession, taped on Monday and airing later this week, sources now tell ABC News Armstrong is in talks to possibly repay some of the millions of dollars the U.S. Postal Service paid to sponsor his team. Money the federal government is already considering suing to get back.
It was such a big race. I mean, that was the Olympics. I mean, that year it was all about Ben Johnson versus Carl Lewis.
It still is to this day the most phenomenal thing I've seen on an athletics track. I mean, Ben Johnson was just in a different class. It was 2 races. I mean, he had that sort of bullet start. And his speed was phenomenal. I mean, everybody was just like...
I didn't think for one moment I was going to lose that 100-meter final until we crossed that line. I went over to him, congratulate him, and he pulled his arm away. He would even take my handshake.
I've just been handed a piece of paper here that if it's right, it'll be the most dramatic story out of these Olympics or perhaps any others. It says, Ben Johnson of Canada has been caught taking drugs and is expected to be stripped of his 100 meters gold medal, according to International Olympic Committee sources.
The urine sample of Ben Johnson was found to contain the metabolites of a banned substance, namely stanozolol. It's an anabolic steroid. The IOC Medical Commission...
It's confirmed Ben Johnson has taken steroids. He's stripped of his gold medal, he's out of the games, out of career, home in shame.
Regardless, if you like, of what happened afterwards, the experience of that moment, the sort of the emotions that it evoked, are still there. And so even though it was completely tainted, as a spectacle, it still is emblazoned on my mind.
He cheated. I mean, you just can't feel sympathy for a person who's cheated, and now, several years later, this sport is still feeling the effects from, his decision to cheat.